Greetings everyone, welcome aboard. Joseph James, schooloftrade.com, July 26, 2010. Welcome back, guys. Hope you had a great weekend. Here's your live trade room recap. Another big day in our live trade room this morning, but I want to remind you guys, if you're watching the video on the blog right now, there's a lot of important stuff on the blog. Got to make sure you guys are aware of that. Use the search box. The search box will make sure you can search for specific answers to specific questions. There's always somebody there for live support, so click on the live support button for 24/7 support, whether it be for membership support, whether it be for logging into your free trial account. Right below that, you'll see our Facebook page, our YouTube page, guys. There are videos on the YouTube page that are not posted on the blog, so make sure you guys check the YouTube page out. But the biggest important thing is the follow me button. Make sure you guys are aware, if you're not following our blog or if you're not a member of our newsletter, you're missing out on all the brand new stuff that gets posted every day on our blog. We post new articles, new videos, and we even post live trade calls on the blog. Guys, it's all there. Make sure you're following the blog, or make sure at least, the very least, you're a member of our newsletter. Okay, the newsletter button is right below that follow me button. All right, let's take a look here. 2, 4, 5 total trades. Boy, kind of a slow day today. We made some pretty good money on gold this morning, though, so we'll take a look at that for you guys. But you can see, though, gold, Russell, and gold, we didn't even touch the crude this morning, and we'll show you guys why we didn't touch the crude in a second. 95 ticks, though, 950 USD for the weekly total. Now, guys, as you can see, last week was the biggest week, I want to say, of the year. You can see here we've had some big weeks this past couple months here, but boy, May, June, July, 17,000 in May, 21,000 in June, and now 23,000 here in July. That's a pretty big week, though. $8,700 last week, $6,200 the week before, and $7,400 the week before that. Guys, totals up to $23,000 this month. In just 1 month of trading, $23,000, which means our members have, not only have they made their investment in their membership back, but they have quadrupled that investment, some of which, right, have tenfolded their investment this month, guys. So hats off to all the members out there that are making a killing with us this month. Let's see here. We'll keep you guys posted the rest of the month how we do. But what was the most important thing that happened today? Well, summertime Mondays are expected to be slow. We woke up this morning, we saw wedge patterns, right, across the board. Now, a wedge pattern, right, looks somewhat like this. So we saw wedge patterns across the board here, and we had, of course, inside of those wedge patterns, we had to wait for price to break to the downside or break to the upside, and then from there, we then marked up our double tops and double bottoms, and we waited for breakouts from there, right? So wedge pattern tells us a lot about the market, but most importantly, though, right, when we see wedge patterns, we know now is a time to look at a slower time frame, right? Plan to buy the lows, sell the highs. Remember, we talked about this last week. We had the biggest day of the year last week, doing exactly that. Now, we had a bunch of news this morning, but the news really didn't do a very good job at kind of, spearing this volume in. We had 8:30 news, we had 10 o'clock news, 10:30 news. Guys, we had a lot of activity today, but we didn't get much more volume because of it. Now, again, I want to remind you guys, after the 4th of July, all the way until, Labor Day? Right? Labor Day, I believe it is. First week in September. Anyways, 4th of July holiday, first week in July through the first week in September. Okay, those are 2 months, 60 days, where you've got to be careful about volume. Right? Volume is going to be going up sometimes, coming back down, kind of a roller coaster of volume in the market. It's our job as traders to identify when the volume's up here and not down here. All right, guys, so we were looking for more volume today. We had plenty of news to kind of spark that volume, but we didn't see very much. One thing that we definitely saw, though, and we talked about it in our live trade room this morning as part of our webinar, was the dead zone. Now, the dead zone will typically happen here, right, a lot more pronounced in the summertime months. Okay, so July and August, the dead zone is going to be a lot more dangerous than it is other times of the year. Now, the dead zone also becomes more dangerous at the end of the first quarter. All right, guys, end of the first quarter and the last 2 months here, July and August, that dead zone is really going to, right, it's going to be more pronounced. And what the dead zone is, it's after the news, right? We had 10:30 news, but then before the 11:30, right, European close. So between 10:30 and 11:30 is oftentimes when we're going to see that dead zone. Now today we actually got some pretty good volume around 11 o'clock. That gave us some trades late in the morning here in the gold, okay, that we weren't really expecting to see, but obviously we got them. The point I want to make, though, is watch out for that dead zone, right? The dead zone is going to be a block of real low volume after the morning news before the morning show closes down at 11:30. All right, now, here's what we saw in crude. And like I said before, guys, we didn't even touch crude today because we saw this wedge pattern. Right now, this wedge pattern, you can see here the wedge pattern coming down from the top, right, up from the bottom. Most important thing you want to see here is we're right in the middle, right? We are right in the middle of the wedge pattern. So in the middle of the wedge pattern, all right, slow speed, sluggish price movement, we're right around that big round number of 78. And so right away here, middle of the wedge pattern, slow speed and sluggish price movement, we know on crude, better be careful this morning, right? That was the first sign we saw this morning that we better be careful. That was a slow chart. But now let's zoom in a little bit faster now. Let's go to my 4-range chart. And this is where we really saw kind of what gave us that, it gave us that sign of the market that we really probably weren't going to see very much today. Now guys, what happens is we have a sideways range, right? Here's my sideways range. And so here on crude here, we saw price trading inside of this sideways range. All right, but then all of a sudden what we saw was, bam, right? We broke out. So we break out below the sideways range. Here we are now here on crude, right? Trading now below the sideways range. All right, now I'm originally now going to be looking for a 2-step long because my thought process is that if this thing bounces back into the sideways range, right? I want to be aware of it. Okay, so if it goes back into that sideways range, I'm looking for a 2-step pattern long now that will take me buying these lows and bouncing back into the sideways range. All right, so on the fast chart, what do we see? We see sideways market right there. Right? There's your sideways market. So right away here we can tell, right, sideways market from 79.31 down to about 78.40. Okay, we recently broke out to the short side. And of course, we ask ourselves, do you think this thing will keep dropping? Right? Will it keep dropping? Or will it bounce and go back into the bracket? Right? Those are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Okay, so what do we do now? We're going to read the tape. Right? Tape reading. What do we see? We saw slow speed as we broke out. And then as we began to now rise again, we saw fast speed. Now, the speed will confirm the move. If I see slowing speed as we drop, that means the short side probably not going to be the right decision for me. If I see the speed increase, though, when price begins to rise, that tells me my 2-step pattern long here is right up my alley.